Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now, we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Paige, Shane Hurd, and Tara Diulus. Exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and you are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON. Brought to you by KGRADB.com. It is great to be back. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. I was filming with Beyond Skinwalker. So many great things happen. I can't wait for those episodes to come out and for the time I'll be able to share with all of you what happened out there. But I'm happy to be back. I hope you guys have had a great couple weeks. As always, we're endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Paige. I am with Colorado MUFON, and I'm so excited. We have Paul Sinclair with us tonight, all the way from the UK. Paul has an amazing website. I hope you guys all check it out. Truth Proof. He runs the Truth Proof YouTube channel. Truthproof.uk. Check out his website. He has so much great information. Just came out with a new film called Wolflands. It's available on YouTube or Amazon Prime. I'm sorry. I bought it. It's well worth it. I hope you guys get a copy of that and watch it. It's really good. So I'm anxious to have Paul on a little bit later. But let's bring Tara Diulus, my co-host. You can see Tara right here on KGRA's with Sky Tour live stream with Mark D'Antonio. How are you, Tara? How you been?
Hi, Katie. Good. Good. Going great. What's up with you?
Oh, just busy, as always, like so many of us. It's a busy time of year, right?
It is.
I haven't even begun my holiday shopping yet, and it's sneaking up on us really fast.
Is it the holidays?
It is. Oh. I know, right?
I have my holiday shirt on.
Hey, that's an awesome one. Look at that. I like that. That's great. And unfortunately, we don't have Shane with us tonight, but Shane, whatever you're up to, we hope you're back next week. Next week, we're going to have Bob Spearing on to go into some in-depth research he's been doing, but we do have him just to share some exciting news here in a little bit. But first, we have product and memes. So what do you have tonight to kick us off?
Well, Katie, I know it recently snowed near your home. It looks so beautiful, but I just wonder, does it make you want to go out and play in it? Or do you, does it? Well, I was inspired. So today's memes, we have two aliens taking the time to go out and play while it's snowing.
I love that.
Isn't that fun? It shows a little gray and the alien xenomorphs just sticking their tongues out, catching the calm winter snowfall. And, how fun for them.
Right.
When was the last time you went out and did that? Any of us? I think we
just yesterday. And we were just talking about how in Colorado here we have that dry snow. So it's like powder and it's just fun. I'm like, it's snowball fights and it's just a lot of fun. It's a beautiful
how fun. Well, good. We should all be inspired to play in the snow at least once this season. So because we don't get much snow here in Arizona, but I got a chance a week or so ago. So
that's awesome. Yeah, let's all be kids.
Yeah, why not? Well, what I wanted to bring for those of us, like it is the holidays, if you kind of need some last minute gifts, I found on Amazon a fun stocking stuffer. Or perhaps a last minute gift for everyone. It's a Bigfoot pen and pencil holder. It's from Judge's Trunk, and it's really a multi-use holder. And it is basically a hand-carved statue. And it's a muscular bipedal creature hiding behind a trunk. Well, he's about 7 inches tall, and his eyes are dark and allegedly glow red at night. So allegedly, right? But they say it loves to hide behind makeup brushes and toothbrushes and small tools and plants. And apparently people have reportedly had encounters with this product in their offices. So, it can be known as a desk organizer as well. But this and all sorts of fun Bigfoot, alien related products can be found on Amazon. So check it out today. So
I love that.
isn't that kind
Buy
of fun?
4 of them: makeup brushes, toothbrushes,
Yes.
a plant,
And your
and
pens and
pencils
pencils.
and pens.
Yeah, and add a few brushes for my paints behind me. I think that
There you go.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Well, so next, I'm so excited. Today we have the International Director of Investigations for MUFON with us. And Bob Spearing is here to talk to us about Project Aquarius and Project Mars. And here we are, Bob Spearing.
Hey,
Welcome to the
Bob.
show.
Good to see you.
Hi, ladies. How are you? Good to see
You're
you.
great.
Great.
Happy holidays to you.
Yes.
Happy holidays.
Yes. So, Bob, what have you got to share with us today?
Well, I've got some really exciting things going on at MUFON right now. Project Aquarius, our digital library, is going to be launching on New Year's Eve, and
Wow.
for it, make it a good Christmas present also, December 20th. And basically it's going to be in 2 formats. If you're a member of the public, not a MUFON member, you can purchase a yearly subscription for $50. If you want an enhanced membership, a VIP membership that also includes Project Aquarius, we'll be offering that as well. So we have a red logo and we have a blue logo. Okay.
Yep.
Now, the interesting thing is, what is Project Aquarius? Well, a long, long time ago, and Katie was involved with this fairly recently, they decided about 25 years ago to start scanning thousands and thousands and thousands of UFO-related documents from the government, from Colonel Ruppelt, from Leonard Stringfield, and part of it was the Mars files, originally called the Pandora files.
And Tara was on the Mars team as well, so she
Yep.
did a lot of that redaction work along with you, Bob. The 3
Yep.
of us here. I mean, that was
It's really
tedious
fun.
work.
And you were the last project manager of the Mars project. I believe you
Mhm.
changed the name to Mars from Pandora, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Well, Ken St. John, and then, it kind of evolved from there. But it really started, Debbie Ziegelmeyer and a team years ago started really digitizing and organizing these
Awesome.
folders. And it's just kind of went through metamorphosis through the years. And now Bob Spearing and your excellent team is merging it into Project Aquarius. So I can't wait to learn to see where this is going.
Yes.
So basically, when we finished redacting Mars, it sort of sat there, and I said to Dave McDonald, the executive director, "Hey, it's been 25 years. People on Facebook are like still waiting for these files," and he goes, "I'm fine. Do it." And so basically what I realized was that over the past 25 years, not only did we scan Mars files, which are the original paper reports that were mailed into MUFON between 1967 and 1995, before our computerized system went into effect. They've all been scanned. They've all been redacted to protect witnesses' names.
Mhm.
And that's going to be the first of 7 rooms in the Project Aquarius library. Do you have the graphic of the 7 doors available that we
This-
can pop up?
Yeah, let me find it. 7 doors. I'm looking for it. Hold on. You're not talking about this, are you?
No. There was the Project Aquarius logos. There was
Yeah.
multiple.
Right here.
Go for it, Katie.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, thank you. The rooms. Okay.
So the very first room is going to be Mars. It's approximately 8,800 files, 6,000
Wow.
pages of which are the original MUFON paper reports that witnesses
Neat.
sent in to us. This is what Katie has been redacting, and Tara too, and myself for several years. To the left on the screen is a newspaper clippings gallery. Basically, the Archives for the Unexplained in Sweden has given us access to a lot of newspaper clippings, including all of the file cabinet clippings from APRO, not what David
Awesome.
Marler just discovered, but the original ones that have been around for a decade or so. So there's going to be thousands of newspaper clippings. This room in particular will be free to the public. Anybody can
Awesome.
access and look at all of these clippings. You don't have to do a membership. You don't have to do a subscription. You don't have to be a MUFON member. Anybody can access the news clippings gallery.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yep.
To the left of that is the witness sketch gallery. Basically, MUFON has 135,000 computerized case reports, and we scoured them and came up with 7,000 drawings that were
Cool.
and some of these people are artists. They're incredible. And what we discovered was several things. Is that all of the drawings are listed by case numbers, so they're in chronological order essentially. And basically what we found was that, like, say, for example, case 27,000 to 28,000, there'll be a preponderance of triangles. And then at another time, there'll be another type of flap. The other thing is that when you go through these drawings, you will see over and over and over again people drawing the same thing. Without doubt, this is one of the best visual tools anybody's ever come up with. We've also put up all of the MUFON journals from Skylook from 1967 up until 2010, I believe. And we're going to be adding more as we go. But you're going to have 40-something years of MUFON journals that the public hasn't seen ever.
Wow. Awesome. Those are early ones.
And including Skylook magazine. Not only the journals, but our original publication, Skylook.
Wow.
We're going to have a historical records collection from various people like Colonel Ruppelt, which is being uploaded now. Leonard Stringfield, we still have to redact because there's some sensitive information. We need to protect people who are still alive. John Warren, Mindy Toutfest, our director of training, has gotten the Hayden Hughes collection. Hayden Hughes was a very interesting fellow back in the 60s and 70s. He had dialogues going on with Werner von Braun, with President Eisenhower, with Einstein, and he had his own set of UFO reports. I just went to MUFON headquarters last week to see what we might be missing, and I found the MJ12 files, and I found the disc when they were scanned, and we're putting that up. That's an entire file cabinet drawer from 1947 up until the 80s, and then in the file cabinet where we have the actual Leonard Stringfield notebooks, in the bottom drawer there were these three big folders, and I opened it up and it was the Humcat, Walter Webb's Humcat, all right, from the year 1790 until 1981. And then I found the disc for that. That's been scanned. So all I can tell you is that this is going to be one incredible package for members and non-members alike.
That's awesome. I think we have a short video. Is it okay if we run that?
Sure,
Project Aquarius?
We just finished this the other day. It's ready to go.
Okay, here we go.
Let's take a look. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ethan here at the headquarters of the Mutual UFO Network. Are you looking for the ultimate gift for a loved one this Christmas? We have a unique and important idea for the UFO investigator in your family. Introducing the new Project Aquarius digital library. It will be offered as a standalone $50 annual subscription to the public, no membership necessary, and will also be part of our new research level membership. The Project Aquarius digital library will consist of 7 rooms going forward initially. This is where you can enter any room by simply clicking on a door. Room 1 contains over 6,000 pages of Mars paper UFO reports mailed to MUFON between 1967 and 1995. Room 2 will be a drawings gallery of witness submissions, initially consisting of over 7,000 illustrations from our 135,000 UFO report database. Room 3, a public domain library of thousands of newspaper articles. No subscription or membership will be needed for this room. Room 4 will contain all MUFON journals between 1967 and 2010. Room 5 will be a private researcher's collection room that will launch in stages. Among these collections will be those of Bob Pratt, Colonel Edward Ruppelt of Project Blue Book, and Leonard Stringfield. Room 6 will contain all MUFON Symposium proceeding booklets between 1971 through 2002, with the more recent ones being scanned in now. Throughout 2024, Aquarius will be expanded to include more collections, the MJ12 files, and finally, a multi-level interactive UFO map. Pre-sales begin on December 20th and access will begin on December 31st, 2023. No MUFON membership is needed for the $50 library card in our MUFON store. Go to MUFON.com and click on the store menu at the top of our homepage. Research level memberships include our e-journal, paper journal, MUFON TV, research level gift box, researcher level certificate, and finally, the Project Aquarius library. Click on our join button on our MUFON.com homepage to join today. There is a reason we are number one in the field. We export our knowledge to you in ways no other UFO research organization on Earth can. We are MUFON.
Wow.
How exciting to know this is going to roll out within less than a week now. So I know what I'm getting for Christmas. That's amazing. And I'm so happy to see it finally getting launched.
Yeah.
More than 25 years in the making. I just want to give credit to, besides both of you and some other people, way back when this started, it was people like Michael Swords, Robert Powell, Richard Hoffman, John Schussler, and several others I can't think of off the top of my head. But we're so proud that we're finally going to be able to make this available to the public. The one thing that's not ready yet is the multi-level map. And that's because we're in the middle of watermarking our drawings and videos and such. And the level 1 is going to be the CMS cases from MUFON with pictures and videos.
Wow.
Right? Of all 135,000 mappable cases. Level 2 is going to be the NICAP chronology, which Fran Ridge of NICAP gave us. AFU and Isaac Coy had given us permission to use the Larry Hatch database. We also have Debbie Ziegelmeyer's USO map, and AFU is also putting into production an Excel spreadsheet so that we can translate the Norwegian and Swedish databases of UFO reports into another level of map. And we're working on some other countries to get them on board too. So that's the only thing that's going to be delayed till about March. Everything else is ready to go.
That's amazing, Bob. Good work. And thank you to you. You've been hard at work for years and years on this, and thanks for never giving up on it.
Yeah.
So, and thank you for sharing with all of us. It's like sneak peek. We're the first to know.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And like I said, we will be honored to have you next week be our guest, and we're going to talk more about this and some other things you've been diving deep into. I can't wait to get you back on. So thank you for coming on, Bob, and sharing all this exciting news.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You guys, you take care, Bob. Merry Christmas.
I'll see you next week. Merry Christmas.
We'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Speaking of Mars, Tara, did you have a Mars case?
I do have a Mars case. So this Mars case took place from August 1968. So that's the second year that that basically they had these digitized things. That's what he was just saying. But this was took place out of Mogadore, Ohio. It was reported 15 years later by one of the witnesses. And it was around 2 a.m. on a clear and quiet night. And 2 17-year-old boys were driving out in the country near Mogadore Lake. Okay. All right, let's not be judgy. 2 a.m., 2 boys driving in a dark, secluded area.
They have to.
So in the report, they said they were out there talking about what all 17-year-old boys talk about, girls. Right? Yeah. So these are just some snippets of the case. But as they came around the bend in the road, they entered into a clearing near the lake, and they noticed a reddish-orange glowing object just above the trees.
Oh, right up Bob's alley. He likes those orange orbs.
Is that right? Well,
right.
They thought it was a water tower with red lights, but then they realized they had been out there hundreds of times and there wasn't a tower. So they continued driving, and as they went up a little rise in the road, their headlights were shining in the direction of the lights. And they both turned to each other at the same time and said exactly the same thing. A flying saucer, right? So they turned and looked at each other, and you can just hear them saying it. They turned back to look at the object once more, and it was gone. And, so too scared to get out of the car, they looked around and they searched through the sky, through the car window, and they couldn't find anything. But it made no noise, but they saw it long enough and clear enough to never forget it. And this is the sketch he drew. So kind of near the bottom middle is the vehicle coming up that rise in the road. And you can imagine as they're going up that road, the headlights are shining above that little craft that's above those trees right there.
Wow. Yeah.
which is really kind of cool. So the boys talked about what they had just seen and found that they had not only said the same thing at the same time, flying saucer, but they both had the same thoughts about the tower before they had said anything. The only difference is one thought they saw the only difference that one saw than the other was that one saw the lights as yellow orange and the other saw them as reddish orange. So the reporting party stated that he couldn't sleep that night, kept hearing noises on the roof, which he guessed were probably the wind blowing the trees. But he knew that night that they were coming to get him. And he was scared, but he didn't mind going as long as they took the other boy too, because he didn't want to go by himself.
Huh.
It's really funny. But
fair enough.
Yeah. He did stick with him long enough. 15 years later, he submitted this report to MUFON, and it's just another cool sighting for further investigation in the Mars Archive. So
yeah, and it's a great example of probably what you'll find in those the drawings and stuff. These sketches are incredible, and I'm so glad that they have a door just for drawings and sketches, because I think we can learn a lot from that data. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tara, have you heard? Thank you for sharing that case. Have you heard?
Have I heard? Actually, I have heard. And missing Shane today, we are going to, Shane left us a message. So here we go.
Hey, everybody. Shane here. What's up? Due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to do a live segment this week. But we wanted to pre-record something for you. Something I think's, really important that's happening this week. So I'm coming to you kind of TikTok style here, live from my home in Arizona, and it's about 4:30 a.m. So forgive me if it's a little rough, but what I wanted to do was see if you've heard that there is pushback now on the UAP disclosure bill. This is spearheaded by Chuck Schumer and others, and was a bipartisan effort to bring forth disclosure for UAP in a controlled manner by forming a 9-person panel to review UAP information for release to the public without risking national security issues such as methods and resources, right? So that's reasonable. It had bipartisan support, all of those things, but now it's being pushed back on by senators and House members from the Republican Party, such as Mitch McConnell, Mike Rogers, Mike Turner, and others. Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, seems to be pushing back on this bill. So the question is why? Why push back on an issue of transparency of our government? Many of these Republicans claim that that's what they value, and they want to see that happening, as well as Democratic members of both the House and the Senate, and yet they're pushing back on this. Well, the question is why? Well, whose interests are they serving? Yours and I, as the American public who demand transparency on this issue? Or are they protecting their own interests or the interests of the military-industrial complex, members such as Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, and no doubt many others? And so this is of great concern, and this is where we, the people, need to push back. So I recommend contacting your representatives and letting them know that this is not acceptable, that we demand transparency on the issue, and that this reasonable bipartisan bill is an excellent step in making that happen. So again, I felt like this was important enough that we need to talk about, we need to keep in the public eye, and it's that public pressure that's going to bring this disclosure forward. So please contact your representatives, and otherwise, have a great week. Thanks. Bye.
You, Shane, we missed
thank
you,
you.
and Shane's absolutely correct. That it's a very important issue, and it does make you question what the pushback is all about. What do you think, Tara? Why do you think
Why does it just not surprise me? It's just so disappointing. Take one step forward and a few steps back. But, we'll persevere. It's okay. They can do whatever they want. So we know.
We've been at this for decades now. We're not going to slow down now. The pressure's on. The heat is on, man. The heat is on.
I know. So, Katie, what's going on next? Who do we have coming up?
Well, we have Paul Sinclair, and I'll tell you, I've been a guest on his Truth Proof, and just a wonderful guy. I can't wait to get on him on the show. So I'm just going to read his quick bio, and we'll get him right on.
Okay, awesome.
All right, so Paul Sinclair is recognized within the field of unexplained phenomena for his honest, no-nonsense approach to the subject. He prefers to follow the research wherever that may lead, and I love that about him. Even if it means putting himself in locations and situations most people would not want to be in. And I'll tell you, I can relate to that. Like, oh, really? You're afraid to go there? Let me in there. So we have that in common. Paul lives on the northeast coast of Yorkshire with his wife and family and has been investigating hundreds of strange phenomenon in the area since 2002. His 2000 book, Truth Proof, contains firsthand accounts of local UFO activity, missing people like David Pilates, he looks into that, alien big cats, and I can't wait to ask him about that, missing aircraft, and other anomalous phenomenon. It is the first in a 4-part book series. He hosts his show, Truth Proof, on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. He is also the author of Night People, and most recently released his first full-length film, Wolflands, which can be seen on Amazon Prime. Paul is the most thorough investigator who is known for his credibility and confidentiality, and Truth Proof showcases the strange truths that surround him every day, from the intelligent light forms seen locally on land and out to sea, to reports of strange creatures, including small humanoids, stalking farmland, giant cats on the Yorkshire Wolds, and even werewolves. Paul most prefers being stood out on a cliff edge with a camera around his neck or interviewing a witness or experiencer. Paul least prefers sitting on a panel theorizing what it all might mean or pounding away at a laptop. I couldn't agree more with that. So please welcome to the show, Paul Sinclair. Paul, thank you so much for being here all the way from the UK.
You're welcome. Honestly, Katie, Tara, you're welcome. It's wonderful to be speaking with you guys, and thank you for that lovely intro. Far better than what I deliver on the Truth Proof channel. You know, I just can't wait to get talking together. Thank you.
I'm just, you've been at this for a while, Paul. I mean, you say 2002, but I mean, it sounds like you've sort of had interactions with the phenomenon for most of your life. Is that true? And kind of what got you started and interested in this phenomenon to begin with?
I would think, most of my life. Obviously, when you leave home and you get a job, you're forging a living, wife, 4 girls we've got, it's not on the back burner. It's always there, just like you guys, just like your listeners. It's always there. But when time allows, and I packed in work, and Katie, I don't have loads of money, but I'd got enough money to do what I wanted to do. And I packed in at 48. And I devote 24/7 to this now. And I never thought I'd write a book. My previous career, knocking nails in wood as a joiner. But I wrote the first book, and it's rolled from there. And the experiences, what I wrote about in Night People, my own experiences, and obviously a little boy does not keep a diary. But I would have thought from about the age of 4 to 6 years old, it began. And, you carry these things around in your head, don't you? I didn't even tell Mary, my wife, I don't know, probably till I was about 28, 31 even, when we moved here where we are now in East Yorkshire, and things began again. It switched off at 14, don't know why, and began again in 1993. So I'm 61 now, I think, or 31 then, and it began it's almost as though your life's pre-mapped, and I don't think I'm special. I mean, everybody's, because I don't mean I'd forgot what happened in childhood. It was always there. I couldn't go to bed on a night with the me time when the girls are just buzzing around you during the day, for young girls, little girls, and growing up. But when you've got that me time and you're laid in your own silence, I used to Night People's about cameos of events from my childhood through to about 14, and some later life events. But I've not got a start, unlike, say, Travis Walton or Whitley, and I've spoken to Whitley at length, and I've spoken to Travis, but not at length. But, I've been good friends with Whitley for years. And he kind of knows, not everything, but he's got quite a lot of detail. I've got cameos of events, and I refuse to fill those gaps in with what I think might have happened, because otherwise, we're not cheating ourselves, but we're cheating the reader as well, because they'll not know the grays in between, what's true and what isn't true. So I just try to speak about what I remember. Yeah, and it was terrifying. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I love that honesty about you, and what you're talking about. I hear time and time and time again with these age ranges, like starting, like you said, around 4 to 6, and then it kind of ebbs and flows, and then 14. These are common ages. Do you hear this too, Tara, with experiencers? And I love the way you approach. I mean, when people come out and tell you, like, oh, I know exactly who they are, what they want, you got to run, because we don't have the answers.
Katie, you're so right. I'm sorry to cut across you there, but I've really still got no idea what their agenda was. Apart from it was fear-based, I believe, but that doesn't mean I'm correct. Maybe a little boy's gonna feel that fear when he sees these things, but nothing about it felt good. When you wake up. I lived in a modest house, a council property, council-owned, 3-bedroom, semi-detached house with pasture at the back and cattle in the fields. And this will relate in a moment. My dad was very heavy-handed. That's the kindest thing I'm going to say about him. It was always smack first and ask questions later. I would have never told him what was happening. And I'd seen cutting the grass. You're thinking, where's he going with this? It'll make sense. He'd pour the lawn clippings over, and the cattle would come to the fence. I'd look at their big black eyes, and I didn't realize what I was taking in. And then the first experience that I've got, the first memory, is waking up in the night in that back bedroom. The curtains were grey, like a silver grey colour. They were made of fiberglass. I've no idea if anybody can remember fiberglass curtains, but they were. And they kind of sparkled. But not I don't think glistened, but they've got, what fiberglass is.
Fiberglass, yeah.
I laid and I'm looking at things in the curtain. I can see eyes. I can see 4 sets of eyes. And these curtains are a silver grey colour. And I'm looking, and I'm a little boy. It's the silent hours, and I'm not frightened at this point. And I'm staring at them, and they're sort of coming in and out. And I'm just thinking, these are the eyes of cows. That's the only thing I could relate. We've always got our life experiences to draw on. And at a young age, I'd got next to no life experiences.
Right.
I'm thinking the cows. But then the next thing I know, and the bed's at the side of the wall. Here's where it gets freaky. These beings are around me. They're either side of me, which is impossible because my bed's at the side of the wall. So I don't know how to get my head around that one. And I'm crying. There's no sound coming. There's no sound at all, and I'm crying. Then it's daytime. I've wet the bed when I wake up. The first thing I get is a smack off my dad for doing that. The bedwetting continued, pretty regular. The visitations were very infrequent, but the bedwetting continued until about the age of 14. Strange thing, if we ever went to visit grandparents in Scotland or anywhere, stay there for 2 weeks, nothing. No problem, go to bed, wake up. I'd be terrified of wetting bed for the embarrassment, but it never happened. Never happened. Just there. I'd go to bed. When I woke up in the morning, and I don't know whether you wanted to jump into this, so apologies if you didn't.
This is great.
When I woke up in the morning, the first thing I hoped was that Dad had gone to work. That avoided getting smacked, without a doubt. And so I'd wake up in the morning, but as soon as it was daylight and I was awake, it was like that I was another person. I was not that little boy in that bed that night. I went to school. It was a small school. There were only 28 of us in the school, little village. And went to school, played the games, just ordinary kind of little boy. Didn't think I was anything special. Well, I weren't. As soon as it got to about 5, 6 o'clock, it crept in on me. Well, the fear.
Right.
I got to bed, and I said it in Night People. I used to bunch the covers up as tight as I could into a little ball. And if I could have climbed in wall, I would have done. I was so frightened. Right. And I'd leave a little gap because I was waiting for them. I was always never there. I was never ready when they came. I was always waiting. Eventually, as all little boys do and little girls, when they want an extra half an hour or an hour and they think they can play up. But if you leave them long enough, they're going to go to sleep. I never said a word to Mum and Dad. It wasn't just because I wanted to stay up. I just daren't get. And I'm waiting, and it was always, I was always immersed in the experience before I realized it was happening. It was over before, when you realized it had happened. And it was terror. You know, I spoke at this year's Awakening, you know, the Zohar Stargate Awakening and Forbidden Knowledge TV. And sorry, yeah, this year. It was this year. Apologies, we'd end at year, aren't we? And I talked about the night people. That's the first time I'd ever openly talked about it. And I showed photographs back in 1997, 98. I was going to the doctors on a regular basis. I obtained my medical records. So I've jumped from childhood here now, people. Apologies for that. And, you know, I've got all the records and I put them up there on the talk. It will be available, I would have thought, online somewhere. Zohar will put it out, or is it Billy Carson's Stargate? I'm not. Yeah. Is it Stargate? It's not, is it? It's Forbidden Knowledge, isn't it? Apologies. So, and the doctor's notes say we're perplexed by the punch hole lesions that keep appearing on this young man's body every 3 to 6 months. I knew what were going off, but I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't say a word. You know, it kind of petered out in 1998. And do stop me if you want to go in another direction.
I think this is, I mean, I personally, Tara too, probably, and I know for sure our listeners relate to this. So many people have experienced that. And we're so used to telling, you know, little kids, it's your overactive imagination. Yeah. It's the boogeyman. Oh, there's nothing to it. And so you learn to, just like what you say, Paul, you learn to be quiet, shut up. You don't want to get smacked. You don't want to be ridiculed. And so you kind of suffer in silence. And I don't know about you, but, you know, sometimes that can go on for decades until...
I would imagine, Tara and Katie, that there's people listening to this looking for their own pieces of the puzzle, looking for their own clue, that are never going to say a word. Do you know? And perhaps I'm not encouraging people to speak, but perhaps they maybe should consider it, even if they say, I will tell you about this, but I don't want it publicizing. I would not like my story talked about, because it's such a relief when witnesses have spoken to me. For the witness, it's almost like lifting a weight off them. As you guys know this, I know. Yeah. And in 1998, myself and Mary had been out. I had a bite to eat, had a few drinks that evening, come back home. Sarah, our eldest daughter's old enough to babysit. We go to bed. This is the last one. And I didn't know I was going to talk about this because I could have showed you the photographs, and there may be some in night people that. So I woke up in the early hours of the morning, and I kind of knew something was wrong. It's almost this phenomena, or elements of the intelligence that is the phenomena. It's deceptive and it's a trickster. And I saw lights on the wall in the bedroom, and there's nothing at the back of our property to put the lights on the wall. And I looked at them, and then they were at that side, and it's almost rabbit in headlights. It's kind of watch this hand, but the magic's taking place in this one. And I woke up once again in bed. My wife's at side of me, but they're around me in bed. So am I having these images placed in my mind? Something tells me I'm not, because of the scars, the wounds, or am I being taken somewhere else, but being led to believe that I'm still in my bed because they're either side of me? Yeah.
What did they look like, Paul? Can you describe them a little bit?
They looked like grey, typical what people would call grey aliens, but taller. Okay. They were tall, grey blue coloured beings, emaciated. Pipe rod type arms and legs. No sign of any genital region or anything. Just almost plasticine. It's strange, but for this. I've thought about the larger head, often, and not just in my case, but I think to myself, people say how big these entities' heads look, but usually they're emaciated. They've got small shoulders. Would their heads, comparison, if they filled out, would they have a normal-sized head? I don't know. Sorry, you were going to ask something?
Well, I was just going to say, it's interesting hearing you talk about this and about not talking to people. We've had some guests on, and that's kind of a programming that may be done, that you remember it, but you still don't talk about it, and you still question yourself. They try to confuse you, like you said, the trickster. And, that's kind of a frightening thing to think about. And
it really is. And they were saying to me, and I couldn't hear anything audibly, don't worry. Don't worry, everything will be all right. And then I received the most horrendous pain in my back. The pain, and if I can find the photograph when you go to a break, I'll see if I can find it. The pain was off the scale. And they were telling me it was a bed spring, of all things, turning in the bed. There's no bed springs protruding in our bed, you know. And that's what they were saying. And I believe I must have passed out with the pain. I really believe I must have passed out. The next morning, daylight arrives. There's a knock on the door. I can hear somebody knocking on the door. There's the 4 girls. One of them will be up, probably Jessica, because she were all us up before everybody else. There's a guy talking at the door. I didn't get up, and I'm very early riser me, but unusually I didn't get up. And later we'll come to that one in a moment, because it does tie in with this. I sort of come round, sit on the edge of the bed, just sat there, no shirt on. Mary must have woken up and looked at me, and she goes, "Paul, I don't believe it." I said, "What?" She said, "You've got 3 holes in your back." And I went, "What?" She says, "Paul, no, this," because I'd had them all over my arms. Well, I've still got the scars on my arms. Still got the scars on my back. And if I'm very pale skinned, and if I get sunlight on my skin, that you can see loads of them. It's almost like you imagine somebody dropping a little bit of acid on your skin, and it creates a lovely hole, like the hole that you'd see in ice, where you see the liquid. It's weird. Anyway, and they've healed with what's called giant foreign body cells, as though there's a procedure being taken place. That's what the doctor's notes say. So where am I with this? Yeah. So she says, "No, Paul, this is serious." She said, "These are bad." So she got up out of bed, put a dressing gown on, and I don't know, a few minutes later, not even that, she comes in with one of them Polaroid cameras where you take a picture. She took the picture. Thank God she did. You know, not that it's proof of, I couldn't do it, but, you know, I don't know what it's proof of. It's proof that something happened.
Should always do stuff like that.
Yeah, so we got that, and that was probably the last time I'd had any kind of physical contact with these things. But that morning, the guy who'd come across was called Peter Garner. He was a neighbour, and he'd knocked on the door to see if we were all okay. Peter had worked in a foundry all his life, and he'd damaged his lungs with the chemicals or the materials that he'd used, which meant that he didn't sleep lying down. He sat in a comfortable chair, usually in his front room. His wife upstairs in bed. And he still smoked like a chimney, despite having bad lungs. But he'd sit there, and he was looking directly across at our house. He says, and in the early hours of the morning, I never told him what had happened. Right. He said it looked like a welder's torch lighting up, like flashes of light inside the rooms of your house. He said, and I thought that there was an electrical fault. He said, and I nearly came across at one time banging on the door, but I was waiting to see if I could see flames or anything. He said, but it was a blue-white light. So that's Peter's part in it, but strange times. So basically,
when was that, Paul? What year was that happened?
That was 1998.
Let me ask you. So this was like kind of right before you started delving deep into this topic, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Or were you already kind of looking for answers at that point?
I've been constantly throughout my life looking for answers. I just weren't vocal. I just weren't vocal about it. You know, and Mary, when it started, when we moved into the property in 93, huge house. I mean, I'm sat here at the moment in a little room I've made in one of my outbuildings. But we started in 1993. We bought this huge Victorian terraced house. Cool. Nothing absolutely special, but it's on 3 floors. It's big mahogany staircase, and we bought. Well, we could only afford a wreck, if you know what I mean. I couldn't have afforded a property like this done up. So we bought it, and I would come up on a weekend and work on this property. And within the first, few days of working on it, I used to come up with Sarah, our eldest daughter. We put a mattress on the top floor of the house. There were a TV already in the house from the previous occupants, because we bought it lock, stock and barrel. Everything. It was just like moving into somebody's house. Yeah, but it were honestly, Tara, it was all old and dilapidated. What had happened, just briefly, because it's not an unexplained phenomena, an old lady and her husband had owned the house all their life and brought their family up. Wow. Gentleman passed away. She remarried a sweetheart from childhood. Here's a tip to everybody to make a will. She passed away and he inherited the house.
Oh.
So everything inside the property, family pictures, everything, personal letters, everything that was personal to the couple that had lived there all their life meant nothing to this guy. He moved away and it just went up for sale, and we inherited the lot when we bought
Interesting.
it.
Wow.
So that's the background, why we were there, why we were in this house full of furniture. Beautiful mahogany staircase. We'd only been there probably a week, 2 weeks, and it's the weekend. And here's another story. This is when it kicked off again in '93. We'd been working on property all day. Sarah's at this side of me on the mattress, and I'm looking out. It's on the floor onto the mahogany staircase, a monstrous staircase, huge, great big landings. And I woke up in the night, and there's a little alcove, little 2-foot pillar of brick, and then a right angle, and not a mahogany door. It was painted with what's called wood grain, so it's dark. And I woke up in the night, and I thought, we've painted staircase white. And I thought, no, we haven't. We haven't painted it white. Why wouldn't? There's only me here and Sarah, and the walls were an olive green. And then I thought I could see a shadow, a huge shadow shape on the door. And I'm looking at it, and the Paul Sinclair, me, I would normally get up and investigate what it was, but I just laid there. Can I see this? Can't I see that? Am I imagining it? And I looked at Sarah, and she's asleep. And then I looked, and the spindles, the wooden spindles on the staircase and the handrail, they're white, but they're getting whiter. And I'm looking at it, and I'm staring, and I can't believe it. And it's getting whiter and whiter and whiter. And this landing where you could look over and look right to the ground floor, because, they had an independent staircase that came up. I'm still on the floor, and I can see beings coming up.
Oh my gosh.
They're there. And do you know, when I wrote Night People, I thought it were going to bring back lots of memories.
Right.
Before writing Night People, this is the only memory that came back. Before that, the spindles went white and they looked like fluorescent tubes. And the next thing I remember, it was morning. But during the writing of Night People, I remembered the beings coming up, and they're there. And it looked like a nativity scene. But it wasn't biblical. I'm just trying to put that picture into people's minds. It looked rich and lustrous and glowing. They were beings. I can't think of another way to explain it. And then the spindles became so white on the staircase and the handrail that they looked like fluorescent tubes, and everything just went white, and that was it. Next thing I know, it's morning. And I say to Sarah, wake up, and I say, right, it's Sunday morning. Say to Sarah, well, we'll work till about 2:00, Sarah, then we'll go home to your mum and your sisters. Sarah's not working, but she's old enough. She's enjoying coming up with her dad. And so anyway, I just stretch out my arms, sort of, what you do. And they're covered, they're peppered in little holes all over my arms. And they're not painful. They're completely painless. There's no blood. You can see into them. At this point, they're only as big as the head of a match. And they're up there.
Big.
Yeah, both arms. I mean, those on my back, they looked like, I don't know, it looked like somebody had shot a small bullet hole. They're like a
little BBs or something.
Compare it to from your side of the world, but they're kind of like that. The proper holes, 3 big holes in my back, which were deep because they did a biopsy on the ones on my back in 1998. To see and ask me who was abusing me. Who was doing it? I've done it myself. And I sat there with the doctor, lying to the doctor because he knew I was lying. Yeah. But I daren't tell him. I thought by telling him what I know's happened is going to be worse for me than letting the lie roll. Do you know what I mean?
Well, back then it wasn't talked about, and it's not like it is now, and not in the mainstream. So.
Right.
So I didn't really expect talking about Night People.
No.
But I don't mind. I'm happy to do that,
No, I'm really happy you're sharing all this. And Paul, you didn't really come right out and say it, but it sounds to me like there was some telepathic communication going on during some of these, like, hey, everything will be okay. Now, you heard that just in your mind.
Oh, it weren't audible.
A little bit?
It wasn't audible. It was just in my mind. You'll stay calm, or words to that effect. Everything will be okay. And it's a bed spring of all things. It's a bed spring turning in your back. know,
It was a swamp gas bed spring.
Yeah, the swamp gas. Yeah, just so bizarre and kind of touch wood. Apart from strange things happening in the property, almost like poltergeist activity,
Yeah, I was just going to ask you
continued
that.
throughout the years. Nothing else has happened. Now, with it being such a big property, when the girls left, the 4 girls, me and my wife thought, what we're going to do with this spot, and because of my job as a joiner, we got planning permission. I've turned it into 3 flats, so we've got the ground floor flat. Never told the tenants about anything. So a lady that lived in there for one of the tenants for 7 years knocked on the door one day, or rang the bell. Paul, have you got a minute? Can we have a word? Can I have a word? Yeah. He said, this place haunted. I said, why do you say that? She said, this is the same room where I had that experience, the back bedroom. And she said, the strangest thing last night, and I know it's not UFO related, really. She said, I was laid in bed and she had a little Yorkshire Terrier called Buster. She says, Buster was laid on the bed, a very yappy little dog he was, but he were okay. The soundproof, so it didn't bother us too much. And she said, the bed went down. Someone sat on the bed. She says, now I moved my feet about and I could feel Buster. I knew it weren't him because it was too heavy anyway. And I said, who's there? She says, and I had a conversation with somebody called Alexander St. Clair. I've no recollection of I'm Sinclair, Sinclair, AIR, but we don't know anybody in our family line called that. And I said, and what else did he say? And she says, I can't remember, but it was just a bizarre one. And then in the top flat, Bob Brown's in the top flat. Bob's come to us. He said, and how does this work? He said that a dark shadow of a person, bipedal, has walked straight through my living room. On more than one occasion, he's seen this. We made a point of not making anything. I'm saying this, I hope he doesn't hear it. There's a guy in middle flat now. We've never said a word to him. You know what I mean? He's a lovely guy, but it's just, I don't know. I think sometimes I wouldn't say you can evoke this stuff, but ghost hunters see ghosts, UFO researchers see UFOs. I think you can perhaps bring this type of thing through. I would never advocate the use of the Ouija board. So I'll say that right away. I'd never advocate the use of it. But where am I going with this? The people who I've used the Ouija board, invariably it starts with a bit of a thrill. They're trying to connect to something. I know there's people who use it seriously and maybe they can get good results from it. I wouldn't use one. But where I'm going with it is the phenomena, the intelligence that is the phenomena, kind of interacts with the individual on a almost playful level. It gives them what they want at first. And as their enthusiasm grows, as their knowledge grows or their supposed knowledge, because they're not in control, even if they think they are, it gets out of hand. And this genie that they've uncorked becomes quite uncontrollable until they can get some help. And, we get that, the Skinwalker Ranch. People go there and they will allegedly take back the hitchhiker effect, take back something with them, the essence of what is there. And the area that I research here in Bempton, we get the same kind of thing, Katie. It's a multi-phenomena area where these things, I'm not sure if it's more than one intelligence that's presenting. I'm not sure if it's, and I don't mean, sorry, are you going to a break?
Yeah, well, no, we got about 4 minutes to a break. And after we play An Evening on Earth with an Extraterrestrial, I really want to dig deep into the high strangeness kind of things. Yeah. But really quick before break, you mentioned poltergeist activity and, seeing shadows, and what I speculate would be maybe a ghost, perhaps. And then you also have the ET contact. I mean, the marks on your back and your arms and that. Do you connect these two phenomenon, the ghost and the UFO contact, or do you consider them separate?
No, I connect, 100% connect. And if I sound forceful to anybody that's listening, there's only my opinions. I could be wrong. But I connect them all. There are threads of the strangeness running through them all that have similarities. Let's take, for example, a UFO encounter. very often, and I know you want to pick this up after the break, but often you'll see the witnesses will report what I call the lower silence. Other people have said the Oz factor, but I call it the lower silence in the Truth Proof books. This descent into this strange, disjointed silence that overwhelms everybody. Well, now we get that with the cryptids. So it's the same exotic science that's being employed. Even if it's not the same intelligence that's employing it, it's almost like this unknown other that resides beyond this firewall that human intelligence can't get past.
Good way to put it. Firewall.
There.
I like that. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, I like that.
Remember who said it?
Firewall analogy. Paul Sinclair's firewall analogy. It's a thing now.
Well, the lower silence, the ILFs, the intelligent life forms, they're all words that I've put in the Truth Proof books that I don't think you'd have heard anywhere else.
Have you tried to cleanse your house at all? Have you done anything like that?
No, but there's a good one. When we'd moved in, we'd been in the property for, I worked on it for a few weeks to get it actually habitable. There was no hot water when we first moved in. So when we actually moved in, myself, Mary and the girls, we'd been in about a week, and there's a knock on the door. And people can Google this man. I go to the door, I've got my little troop of girls behind me because we didn't know anybody in the area. And there's the Reverend Tom Willis stood at the door, introduced himself. He said, I've been to the property before, I've blessed it before. He says, I'd like to bless the house. Oh. So he proceeded to go all around the house saying things, and me and Sarah are following him. He gets to the top room and he said, I wouldn't let your children sleep in that room. Well, as Sarah's stood behind him, she looks horrified. But so Tom Willis, and you can pick up on this after the break if you want, because there's a bit more to him. They've made documentaries about him in the 1990s. He was the official exorcist for the United Kingdom, for Britain.
Oh, wow.
I think there would have been more exorcists, but he's renowned. They've made TV programs about him. I didn't know him. He just come and knocked on the door. But, so he'd been to the property before. And what I didn't say when I was talking about the activity that we encountered when we first moved in, when we stripped the wallpaper back and got back to this property, there's pentagrams on wall. We found bags and bags of letters that I was not even aware of what these letters were. And they were spirit letters, the automatic writing, and the old couple had been practicing spiritualism and other things by the looks of it.
All right.
The electrician lifted the floor.
Yeah, it's time for break, but I want to dig into this more because I think that opens doors. So hang in there with us and we'll see you guys on the other side of the break. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah. Oh my God. I've been riveted for this whole first part of the show. I mean, what you're talking about, Paul, I think more people experience than what we even imagine. I've had very similar things. Tara, have you experienced similar things?
Similar things that just happened recently. So, it's kind of strange. So, but
come on, do tell. What? No.
No, I woke up with fluorescence on my leg. I sent you that picture, and
right.
I have no idea what it's about. So I'm doing my own little investigation on it and just documenting it. And
Daryl Sims kind of taught you how to look for the fluorescence, and the photo you sent me, Tara, it's a very unusual pattern.
I know it looked like a link of chain that's going across both of my calves. So, and it only lasted about 24 hours, 48 hours.
How did you know then, Tara? Did you perceive that something unusual had happened during the night?
That's a good question. Not during that night, but I'll tell you, for the last week or so before I found this, I've been needing to get a UV light, and I talked to Daryl. I got, he didn't tell me to do any of this, but I was inspired by his book, and it was just something inside me that you don't tell everybody. Get a UV light, and the first day I checked it, I found that. Wow. So I don't know. And it's like, how convenient. Yeah, right. But I can't explain it. And I've showed it to a few people and can't explain it.
And you've not found it since?
Not found it since. I've been looking every day since. And it's been...
It's fascinating. And I don't mean that that's not true. It is fascinating. Yeah. It's almost like occasionally we'll take different people who've never been up to the cliff tops of Bempton, these remote areas, and very occasionally, but you'll take someone new up and there's a little bit of activity. It's almost as though it puts on a display or it gives you something, and you're saying to yourself, I must get a UV light.
Yeah.
And one of the first times that you try it, you've got that. Incidentally, before we jump into it, I met Daryl. We got on like a house on fire at a conference earlier this year. What a genuine guy. And if he's listening to this, I mean that. That's from the heart.
We love you.
There were lots,
Daryl.
there was lots of speakers at the conference. No, I've not got a bad word to say against anybody, but I spent all day mixing with anybody that would come to me and sharing information. Do you know who else did? Daryl Sims, but a lot of those other speakers didn't. They did their talk and disappeared.
Yeah, he's very approachable.
All credit to Daryl Sims. And Whitley, what same? When he came last year, superb. So anyway, enough of that.
Shout out.
Not me, I mean me, not you guys.
No, so I started a little game. It's kind of fun and interesting. It's called An Evening on Earth with an Extraterrestrial. So maybe this is your tall, grayish blue guy, which by the way, I love that you added the blue in there, because when I first got into this, I'm like, where are the blue ones? Where are the blue ones? And what you describe is very similar. So it makes me wonder if we've interacted with the same species. Anyway, but let's say this guy comes down to Earth. Where would you like to have an evening? Where on Earth? One place on the planet Earth. Where would you go?
I hope I'm not combining two questions here, but I think where would I like to go? I'd like to sit for an evening at home with him and ask him the questions that I've always wanted to have answers to. Probably I'll end up going to the grave without these answers, but yeah, great question. Sit at home.
Okay, so you're at home. That's a perfect location. And so you're going to serve your ET friend some food. What would you like him to try?
Definitely olives and cheese. Olives and cheese. Beautiful ham. I like food. Now, look at me. I love food. But, I could nibble food, nibbly type foods. Beautiful ham, olives, nice cheeses, crackers. Yeah, all day long.
That's wonderful.
That's perfect. And what music would be playing in the background?
What music? I don't know if you'll have heard of this band. Well, I'd play some of my daughter's music because she's a singer.
Nice.
But we haven't got any to play. But I'd Resound if you want to look for her on YouTube. Okay. And she does all the harmonies in Wolflands. All the music that goes through it. It's a full score. And I may as well just boast about that for a moment, because we're so fortunate.
Brag about your daughter. I love that.
Well, Jessica, a guy contacted me, said he liked what we were doing with Wolflands and he'd like to help us with the music. And I've become good friends with him. They call him Mick Park. And they were very famous in the 1990s and 2000s for producing dance music, top high echelon dance music. Nice. Or he has worked with bands such as U2 and Ruby Turner and Robbie Williams. But he's done this along with my daughter Jessica. They've created the music for Wolflands.
Cool.
Probably want to listen to some music such as David Gray. I don't know if you've heard of David Gray.
I haven't.
David Gray or Skunk Anansie. So there you'd have to find this music, people, and there'll be people listening thinking, what's he on about? But yeah,
this is exactly why I do this segment, because now you just turned me on to a few new things. I get
David Gray.
I love it.
Skunk Anansie. Yeah.
Okay.
Hedonism is one of their songs, and David Gray's got one called Babylon. So you may have heard it. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to check that out for sure. And so you're going to recommend a film for this ET to watch. What film would you recommend?
What a great question, because I don't watch many films. But probably one that kind of stirred me and made me feel a bit emotional, because I can cry looking at on TV, The Colour Purple.
Oh, good one. That's a good film. Yeah. And of course, you're going to have to share your own film with him as well, Wolflands.
Yeah, have a look at this, I would say, Mr. E.T.
Yeah. Look at this one. You have one question in this game. So what one question would you want answered first and foremost? I know.
Yeah, what a good question. And I've never been asked a question. What would I ask them? Could I go back in time?
Where would you go?
What would you do? Would you change
I'd want to. Well, could I go back and observe then my childhood and see? I want to know why they did what they did. But I suppose if we've got different types of beings coming through, and when we say ET Katie, Tara, I don't subscribe to the notion that they're necessarily from up there. I think they're already here, but we just play with the idea if we have different types of beings coming through. The one that you're talking about, who wants to be in touch with Paul Sinclair, might not have been anything to do with what interacted with me in childhood. But I'd love some answers from childhood.
Do you get a sense of that, Paul? I mean, have you felt like your early ET contact has led you on a path, perhaps, that you have felt guided?
It's definitely led me on a path. It's probably steered me in the direction that I don't see much good in what is coming from these visitors, to coin Whitley's terminology for them, the visitors. Right. And this year at the new conference that we'll be talking about, the New Awakening in February of 2024, Steve Mira and Vitali, the theme of the conference is the dark side of ufology. Oh. And, I had no problem thinking of things to talk about regarding the dark side of ufology. I'm sure that there are good things that happen. And full power and credit to the people. I'm not disrespecting anyone that has those experiences, but they've never been mine. So, yeah, I think I'd like to. I don't know. It's great questions there, but the olive and cheese, probably the best one for me.
I love it. I mean, it sounds like something you could leave out for Santa as well.
Without a doubt, yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
A sophisticated Santa. He wants.
Yes, that's right. That's what we all have around here. How funny. So, I have a question for you, Paul. You've talked about the aliens and then the shadows, and you've seen so many different things, and I'm just curious if. It seems like they're doing different things. You hear of abductions, and they're doing things to people, and these shadow things, all I hear, and I'm sure I don't have the scoop of it, but they're just peeking around or running here and there. And, so are they all, you said they're related. Do you think those shadow things are doing things that we just aren't aware of? They're anesthetizing us. I mean, do we just not know what the other folks are doing? Because I don't know what they're doing versus the abductions.
Do we know what?
We don't know.
The ET, if we want to call them ETs, these intelligent others are doing. Do we actually know that, Tara? It's and when I say they're all related, I mean I think it's the same. I call it the exotic science that's being used. I think there's so many threads that run through this that at least show that the same technology, if that's the word, is being employed. Like we touched on the lower silence, this descent into the fear. You hear people in the cryptid community, the ghost community, the UFO community, the fear just suddenly overwhelmed me. Yes. And I don't know from where everything went silent, as we touched on before. And there's lots of threads that run through it all that tell me, even if it isn't the same entities using different masks, that because ultimately, when we talk about the poltergeist phenomena, it starts off almost amoeba-ish. It's like, did that happen? I just thought I saw something move in my peripheral, or we hear a click like a light switch, but as we become aware, it grows, it develops, it becomes more intelligent almost as we become more aware of it. So it really is a difficult one.
I've been having my big screen TV not only turn on at random times, but now turning off. So this last couple of weeks, I've been out filming for Beyond Skinwalker again. And the last day of filming, I'm getting up. Normally I'm staying in a different town, but for this last night, it's a long story. I ended up staying at the house, and boom, the TV. And it's interesting how our brains, I think if you're a reasonable human, you're like, okay, is this set on a timer? Like you're always looking for explanations, or I didn't see what I thought I did out of my peripheral, like you're saying. So we're always trying to explain things away. Well, and I agree with you, Paul. The more we're tuned in, it seems like it grows more intelligent or something.
You're correct, but you're spot on. As good researchers, and not just researchers, anybody who's looking for the answers, we're doing, and you're doing it, Tara. We're looking for the logical answer first. We've got to do that in all instances.
You have to rule it out.
The thrill, if that's the word, is actually exhausting all those avenues and then realizing that you're left with a true unknown. That is the thrill. Because I do find it. It's edgy. I really do. Even though it's not nice, some of the stuff that I've been looking into, the animal mutilations,
Right.
and things like that, 2017 to 2019 in our area, which we could touch on if you wanted, but I don't have to. Some of it's not nice, but I kind of I like the edginess. Have I had that overwhelming fear come over me? Twice on those cliff tops, and I've done these cliff tops on and off for the last 20 years and various other places, because I noticed in the intro you said you maybe thought it was a wrong spelling when you said the Wolds. The Wolds. This is the East and North Yorkshire Wolds. It's an area of barren land, and Wolds in our terminology is the wilds, the wild lands. If you went back in time, so it's the Wolds, as they call them. But yeah, I've spent years in these locations and on farmland, getting permission. Invariably, the phenomena, as you know, does not present to order. It will not show because Paul Sinclair stands at 3 a.m, hoping he will see something. It kind of smacks you between the eyes when you're least expecting it.
Yeah.
And but it's exciting. You only need that one ingredient or that one trigger to set you off again. You know what I mean? And keep you enthused.
Yeah, no, this is an excellent segue. Do you mind, Paul, if I share the Truth Proof research clip that you have? I think it's an excellent clip. So if we can roll that, Tara, it's called Truth Proof research. And let's watch that, kind of tell us a little bit more about what he does. Thank you.
Okay.
I come into this wood 2 or 3 times a week. So I'm a collector of stories of the unusual, of the strange, of the bizarre. Today we're at Danes Dyke and we're going to have a little wander around the area because as part of my research over the years, lots of unusual things have been seen and reported about the spheres of light that have been seen around Danes Dyke.
I saw these 2 red-orange, the brightest red-orange orbs I've ever seen. Well, the brightest red-orange lights I've ever seen.
Beast of Barmston Drains 6 miles up the road. Flixton 10 miles inland, the Flixton werewolf. Why are these stories concentrated around this area? I do think that there's other realities or something interdimensional.
And the first view I got was at the edge of these houses down the bottom, off that orange light floating up and down and backwards and forwards and up and down.
Started all in, and we started laying on it. The boat was going over, there was a hell of a lot of weight. The starboard side come out the water and I noticed there was an ejector seat. So I actually winched him aboard, and he come aboard in 1 heap and we put him far side of the wheelhouse.
When we're talking about things out at sea, many times we've been up there and we keep hearing this noise. So it's a rumbling noise, and we're trying to explain about where it comes from. And it's out at sea.
I absolutely love the fact. I mean, you and I have that in common, the high strangeness. And we're talking, I mean, you kind of go somewhere I haven't gone really, which is the missing people. And I want to talk about that right out of the gate here, because there's some articles there, missing people. This bird, what is the bird woman? What is that? I want to know about that. But the fact that you get out there and actually go out and do the work and do the interviews, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the work that you're doing, because just even the conversations that we've had, we're tying in, these disembodied voices and these strange boxes. And I'm like, holy cow. And I was even talking to some of the crew, like, this is happening in the UK and we're making connections. And the only way you can do that is by doing the work that you do, Paul. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Bird woman, it's actually and you've not got it wrong, but it's Bridlington is where I live. Missing Brid woman. But no,
little dyslexia. That's all.
I would probably say exactly the same. So I realised when you read the Wolds, and I just saw you think he's got this spelling wrong, and I thought I'll come back to that later. But the missing people, is that way? If you want to go on, touch on that for 5-10 minutes,
please do.
Let's do it.
I struggle when I talk about the missing people, and why do I struggle? Because I realise that there's relatives still alive. There's it's somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's husband, somebody's wife. And I think as researchers, as interested parties, we should never forget that ingredient. This is not entertainment for them people. Right. So, and I'll try to be as respectful as I can. And in the first book, I wrote about the missing people at Bempton. And I did it in the second book. And I think I talked extensively on Dreamland a few times to Whitley and on Coast about them. But then I'd kind of dropped off, not because of any pressure from anyone. I struggle with it for the reasons I've given you, but we can't ignore the fact. I think providing, as researchers, we acknowledge the fact that we haven't a clue where they've gone, and we cannot say that this is UFO related, cryptid related, or any other. But we have to accept the fact that they've gone missing, vanished off the face of the earth in an area that it produces highly unusual phenomena. So if I feel comfortable if I can just keep at that, and I'll give you 4 examples. There's quite a few that I've covered, but I found these interesting, and you're asking me to pluck dates out at the top of my head, but it was December the 21st, 2013. A man took his camper van, VW camper van, to the nature reserve at Bempton, because primarily a lot of my research stems around the area of Bempton. And these cliffs at Bempton start at 200-foot sheer rock walls, up to 420 foot. And there's fences around them. And there's
fall off.
Oh, they're absolutely sheer drop. You can't climb them. It's all chalk and they're a bit loose. In the summertime, it's a seabird colony. Well, it's a seabird colony all year round, but they come and visit and nest. So you get a lot of visitors. In the daytime, I now get reports from people visiting the seabird colony saying they've seen unusual things, heard unusual things, which is fascinating. But we went with the missing people, December the 21st, 2013. So it's late on in the year. The seabirds have all flown, but he visits the area, parks his camper van in the car park, spends a few days there. The red flag went up when his van had been left in the car park all day, no parking ticket paid for, and he'd vanished. No sign of this man ever again. I've looked carefully at the people that have gone missing, Katie, Tara. I've looked carefully to sort of weed out anybody that might have had a history of depression, anybody that I don't know, found out that the husband's having an affair, and it's absolutely pushed them over the edge. You know,
literally,
and they've taken their own lives. None of this has figured in what other people have looked at. So he'd vanished. It's very close as well to RAF Bempton, the former radar base that closed in. It came to the area in 1940, closed in 1970. Why am I going on about that? It's a subterranean base. There's a Type 1 rotor. There's an underground, I won't say complex, but there's a large expanse of passageways and rooms below ground. It was a radar, secret radar base at some time in its operation in the 50s as well. But when it closed, it was used intermittently by a satanic cult. But I'm not connecting the cult to the missing people, but I'm just putting that in there. It's literally, you can see it from the visitor car park. Right, so where are we going? 23rd of December, he vanishes. Huge police search. And a lot of the newspapers, just touch on this one, will always attribute somebody to taking their own life off the cliffs.
Even they don't know.
Because they're on the edge of the cliffs. And it makes the news even more, because when someone goes missing up there, you get the Coast Guard, you get the lifeboat, you get air sea rescue, you get the police, you get all the services looking for these people. If somebody goes missing in town, it's just the police. Usually, do you know what I mean? Right. So they've gone.
That's interesting.
Well, let's go over now into 2014. We haven't even gone a month. And there's a guy then decides he wants to visit the cliff tops to view and walk, because a lot of walkers go. He gets a train from a city called York, which will be about 35, 40 miles away. The train breaks down. He gets a taxi put on by British Rail, and it drops him off on Cliff Lane. It's a single-track, mile-long lane with nothing else on it that goes to the nature reserve. He was seen on CCTV walking up Cliff Lane, so we know his last whereabouts. Never been seen since. So there's not even a month gone. Then we'll go 29 miles out of up the coast. Now, this one's a little bit further out of the range where I normally go, but I thought because of the close proximity and in time, that we go to a place called Whitby, just all along that coast, though, the sea, the sea. And a guy parks his car on I think it was called Ullapool Road, which is very close to the seafront. Never been seen since. So the first two, the guy who took the train and got dropped off, he's actually on ground zero. He's gone to the cliff tops there, vanished. Camper van man, he's on ground zero, the same location, vanished. Another one, and they called. Not say his name, but I don't think there's a law that says you can't. All the papers have put the name in. I just feel for the people, So anyway, for a day's fishing, 15 miles up the coast, he took his 2 spaniel dogs with him and his provisions for the day. The following morning, a walker or someone on the cliff tops found his dogs running about and his fishing tackle, and he'd gone. So 4 disappeared in 38 days.
Do these guys have anything in common? I know David Pilates talks about these German physicists that go missing, and do these guys have anything in common?
They got things in common by age. They were all a similar age and a similar build, but that, and I'll tell you another strange one. And David Pilates did reach out to me years ago about a guy who'd gone missing on Bempton Lane, just out of Bridlington, a case I just put up online, and somebody must have touched on it for him. And we did exchange a little bit of information, and I'm happy to talk to him again if he ever wanted to, but I've not pursued it. Let's put it that way. So where am I going with this? So come on, Paul. Because I sidetracked myself with the Bempton Lane one, didn't I? Yeah. Another thing, during the course of these missing people, from 2004, I've been looking into them with a guy that vanished in 2004, parked his car on the car park, never been seen since. Most of them have gone missing on a waning gibbous moon.
That's interesting.
Yeah, now I weren't looking for the phases of the moon. These guys are on the edge of the North Sea, and I wanted to check the tides. To see whether they'd gone over the cliffs and potentially were they on the rocks. There's no beaches below these cliffs. It's inaccessible in most places all year round, and boats don't come in because it's horrendous. Rough. If you look back in time, you'll see off Bempton and Flamborough Head there are more shipwrecks than any other place in the United Kingdom. There's 5 riptides that converge. It's a really hostile bit of sea. So I found myself looking at the tides, and the tides also, if you look at the tide tables, they'll give you the phase of the moon. And I thought, bloody hell, we're getting a waning gibbous moon on a lot of the missing people, which I found fascinating. Just like, excuse me, the month of June. I don't know whether this has occurred to the researchers at Skinwalker, but whether certain months are more prominent. But the month of June seems does synchronicity and coincidence exist? Is anything random with unexplained phenomena? Because it seems to, if it's random, we still can't catch or get an handle on what's happening. But there's so many things happened in June.
Oh, interesting.
Really unexplainable things, Katie. And I don't want to jump off on it if you have any questions to ask about what I've just been saying.
Well, I was just curious about the different types of tides. Is there some sort of electromagnetism anomalies there? Do you get,
Well, it's good you should say that.
Or anything like that.
Steve, I don't know if you know Steve Mira. It'd be an absolutely incredible guest for you to have on. He's really talks really well. And Steve's done a lot of research on the magnetic anomalies and things happening in positive magnetic anomalies. Well, I can tell you now, the area of Bempton and Flamborough is on a very, very strong negative magnetic anomaly. And by negative, there's not a great deal of difference. It's just that the magnetic strength, I suppose, I'm not that's scientifically minded, is weaker in that area. That makes it a magnetic anomaly, a negative magnetic anomaly. Get your teeth in, Paul.
A mouthful.
They are my own. And I'll tell you what else. It's also on a prime meridian line, this area as well, which is interesting. And there's, I don't know, there's so many quirky things that you find out, like I talked about June. You know, on June the 15th, 1998, ZE723, which is a tornado, was flying off the coast of Bempton and Flamborough and vanished from radar. When I say vanished, I don't mean it just disappeared. It's probably gone below radar, and so it's gone not traceable. The UFO researchers of the day desperately wanted to pin this to UFO-related phenomena. I knew it had happened, but I was one of those, probably like your listeners, got an avid interest. I've got my own experiences, and I'm just watching and collecting information for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are loads of activity, loads and loads of UFO activity over the North Sea, over Bempton and Flamborough at the time that it vanished, June the 15th. I found then in an archive, a very short time after, not even weeks after, that fishermen, and I've spoke to the fishermen now, reported seeing a large dark object descend from the sky and land on the surface of the sea.
Wow.
Lifeboat. I got Freedom Information. I got the log, and they went out and they investigated. They watched it for a length of time on the surface, you know, on the sea. But when the lifeboat got there to investigate, there was nothing there.
Wow.
This is the North Sea. There's large dark objects should not fall out of the sky. I got reports of triangles entering the sea around the same time. But if we stay with June, and why June? It could just be coincidence. But June the 15th, 2020, F-15 Sea Eagle vanishes from radar, Bempton and Flamborough. All right, you know, we know there's a lot of years in between. If we go to June the 8th, 1972, a Cessna, or at least we think the Cessna's in the sea. There's a pilot inland flying a Cessna. Shouldn't have been over the North Sea. And this is another quirky coincidence. You saw the guy with the tattoos in the short film there. He was a crew member on board a trawler called the Betty. He was the guy that found the navigator from ZA610 in December the 12th, 1985. But let's jump back to 1972, June the 8th. So we're in the month of June. He's on board the Betty, the same boat, just off Flamborough Head and Bempton. And he says to his two crew members, there's a man in the water. This is 6 miles out in the North Sea. The life expectancy, if you were in the North Sea, is probably about 40 minutes. You've gone, haven't you? It's just hopeless. They didn't believe him, but they took his word for it because he's a formidable guy, is Tom. You know, and they do what, you know, he's a nice guy as well. I've known him years. So what he said, we steamed out to it, and sure enough, he's in the sea. We pull him aboard. He's still alive. Wow. By the time search and rescue come, he's passed away.
Oh, no.
He just got normal trousers on, a button-up shirt, and they found out that he was the pilot of a Cessna that had been inland. They never found the Cessna. Do we attribute this to UFO-related information? We can't, because we've not got the proof. But it's June the 15th.
Weird.
If we go to June the 15th, 2011, there's a small animal park 2 miles from Bempton and Flamborough, and 2 miles from me. It's about slap bang in the middle. I'm in Bridlington. Sowerby Hall, they call it. They've had all sorts of little animals, monkeys, macaques, and wallabies. The biggest of the wallabies, the Bennett's wallabies. And that's prominent when I say what I'm going to say. On June the 15th, and I went and sat and spoke for hours with the dead zookeeper, the first of the wallabies got decapitated. And they never found the head, and it was an absolutely pristine cut, if that doesn't sound too macabre for people. So he said then, over the course, and you'll see where I'm going with this research. Am I okay talking about this, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to.
Then he said, over the next 4 or 5 days, and even though we're keeping a close eye on the wallabies, and we've had them for decades, and nothing's ever predated on them, and we've only got fox and badger that could probably disturb them. Right. Bearing in mind, these are the biggest of the wallabies as well, so he doesn't believe a fox could even do anything like this. But over the next 4 or 5 days, all of the wallabies were decapitated.
Oh my God!
They never found what was responsible, but the authorities blamed it on a fox. Now let's extend the research. Well, let's extend the research. I then continued to look, and throughout the United Kingdom, in small animal parks in those months, wallabies were decapitated.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Wow.
So now let's extend the research and let's go 10,000 miles to New South Wales. And I contacted lots of animal parks.
Yeah.
Wallabies were decapitated. Coffs Coast, Emerald Coast, Canberra, they were finding wallabies decapitated. And now, do I think that's true unexplained phenomena? I actually want to jump off fence and say, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Something very strange was happening. The cuts, the bodies that they'd found, there's very little blood. In Australia, they were saying they were looking for somebody with a samurai sword. The cut was so clean. Can you imagine trying to even catch one of these?
I bet you're the only person who really looked into and contacted these other locations around the world.
So I don't think anybody else has ever looked into it in the depth that I've looked into it. And that's it's not a boast, people. That's exactly. I went on Midnight in the Desert, and I think their long shows was 3 hours. I think we did 3 hours just on the wallabies, if I'm being truthful, because it's extensive. Years ago, that one, but but it's fascinating. So as if it's not intriguing enough, I was actually looking at the month of June, and I found that in
something else.
Then I looked in the United Kingdom, and then I discovered that Hanwell Bunny Park. I can't think of the names of the other animal sanctuaries, but they weren't just one or two. There were lots of animal parks. But the thing was, it never made any national news. So our local paper reported it and said a fox is to blame. We think it's a fox.
With the samurai sword.
In the Cotswolds, there was an animal park. They thought it was a fox that was to blame. It's almost as if all foxes have got together on phone and said, well, why don't we try these wallabies?
They got the memo.
Yeah, so I found it fascinating. And I thought, well, why not? Let me just have a look if any of this has migrated to Australia. And sure enough, it has. And I spoke to a professor who's been a really nice guy. But sometimes I do find that the explanations put forward by academia are more ridiculous than just accepting that it could be true unexplained phenomena that's responsible for this.
Well, they had their tenure to watch,
Well, he believed it was an internet craze. He believed that it had caught on and then sort of migrated to the other side of the world. The logistics in trying to catch a wallaby. Can you imagine? Wallaby. They're so fast. Skippy's not going to want to be caught.
Do you kind of link those beheadings to the animal mutilation phenomena? And can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, you mentioned you have cattle on your own property. Have you ever experienced that? And you could talk about what's happening in your area, because in the Midwest, it seems to kind of, through Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Oklahoma, through the United States, you have something similar there in the UK.
And more sheep than cattle, Katie. In 2017, it was New Year's Day. Myself and Mary, we touched on, in that short bit of film, I talked about Danes Dyke. It's an ancient earthwork that's 2.5 miles long. It's Neolithic, so it's over 3,500 years old, and it cuts Flamborough Head off the mainland. There's a road running through it now, and it's a small woodland. And New Year's Day, myself and Mary took some food for the man who lived basically wild in Danes Dyke. Peter, they called him, a lovely guy, lived there for 13 years in a tent. Seriously, lived for 13 years in a tent. Didn't do drink, didn't do drugs. Just a nice guy, and lots of people liked him, and we did, and we used to take him food. So we took him some food, and this does relate to the animals, by the way. I don't just want to talk about an homeless guy. So took him the food, and he said, "You've just missed the police." I said, "Oh, really, Peter? Why? What's been happening?" He goes, "Well, they wanted to know if I'd seen an unusual animal, in particular, a very strange-looking dog." I said, "Really?" And then he said, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, they think it's in connection with some sheep that have been killed at Bempton."
A dog with a samurai sword.
Well, this one was slightly different, Tara, but it's no less interesting. So that got my little ears pricked up, and I found the farmer. And went and spoke to him, sat in his room, had a couple of cups of tea with him, and we became great friends over the years. And I said, "I'd like to help you look into what's killing your sheep." First, he gave me a breakdown of what had been happening, and he'd lost about 27 sheep. He did. I said nothing about unexplained phenomena or anything of that nature. I just said I'd help him. So I went on to this particular field where at times at the peak of the lambing season, there was 400 sheep on. And I went on in between 4:30 and 8 a.m. every morning not every morning, 3 or 4 times a week from 2017, when I got established with the guy, to just after 2019, when it petered out. And I'd go in the morning, do a grid section of the field. Then I'd drop into this little wood and I'd cut, I'll break all this down because it's so fascinating and macabre. But at times, it weren't every week, but it were happening over that course of that 2 years. And I'd find an animal, I'd find the carcass of a sheep. The other farmers were telling him crows were taking the eyes, and rooks and ravens. Well, the reason I was going that early was to disprove that. Mm-hmm. So I got there was lambs in the field. Sometimes you would find the fully grown ewe, 75 to 85 kilo ewe, on its side, the lamb at the side of it stood at the side of its mum. So these animals, we've only got fox and badger, have took down the ewe and left the easy prey. They've left the lamb. They've got. This is a bit macabre, people, so I apologise, but they've not broke into the carcass. They've stripped its face of skin, literally, took its ears, took its eyes, sometimes a front left leg. I don't know why that would be. Discretion advised. So yes, it was macabre, and I was finding that up over the next 2 years, as well as roe deer, as well as badger, and as well as fox. Well, one morning I went onto the field, Tara, and I did the grid section, and I dropped into this little bit of woodland, and I'd got my wife's little dog with me, Wolfie, they called him, on his tiny little dog, just a companion, beautiful dog. Loved him. And I really did. He was just brilliant, and he'd walk around. Do you know something? Just before we get to the unexplained phenomena, when I first went onto the field, when the farmer gave me permission, I had the dog on the lead, and say there's 400 sheep. It was just like a herd just moving away from me. You could see them because they were frightened. After the 2 years had passed, they knew me. I could walk among the dog and everything. They knew me.
Cool.
And it was nice. I actually got a lot of respect for these animals and liked them. Anyway, I dropped into the woodland and I heard voices right next to me. Electronic voices. It was robotic, should we say, robotic. And you've
Katie's experienced that.
Now there was a field. It's only a narrow strip of woodland, and you've got Danes Dyke at the side of it, and you've got a field with the purple flower. It's called borage. I don't know whether you call it that in the States. It produces starflower oil, and pretty. There's a field of borage, and I don't like going across crops because I've been brought up on farms all my life as a child around farmland, and I'm thinking I'm off over that field. This has unnerved me. It really did. It unnerved me. I'm on my own. It's not even quite light, and I've heard these voices.
Wow.
So anyway, I continued to walk through the wood, and then I thought, well, I'm not going to go over the field. I'm coming back. It's getting light now, and I walked through it. As I come back, and we'd not found a sheep this particular morning, but there'd been a roe deer running about with the sheep. I think he'd got antlers, but I don't think he was mature enough to mix with the fully grown ones, so he was keeping out at way. And as I'm walking across the field, the farmer's coming towards me, and he's got me a cup of coffee, which happened quite regular because I was kind of helping him, and I weren't telling people. The rule was I didn't disclose where the place was, and I still haven't, never have. And even if I did, and you knew the name that this field's called, even that ties in with it. It's crazy. So anyway. Walking across, he goes. First thing he said to me was, "You know that road here that's been in the field?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "It's over there." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "It's near the kissing gate. Little gate that you go through." Because I used to drive past all that and park in his farmyard. So we walked over to it, and sure enough, his face is stripped, eyes removed. Yeah, ears were there, but eyes removed. So that's the road here. Then he said to me, and I found this fascinating. He said, "Saw lights last night." I said, "Where?" He said, "In my bedroom." And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I was laid listening to music with headphones on, and I saw some lights moving around the wall." I said, "Well, a torch?" He went, "I don't think so, because it weren't a beam." I said, "Didn't you get up?" He went, "No." And I kind of, give me a shake. Why? And he wasn't even out of character for this man. He was quite a formidable man. And I couldn't understand that. And we'd just found the road here. So then I said to him, he'd got some decking out front. Bearing in mind, this farmhouse is stood in the middle of nowhere, so he can sit at front of his house all night if he wants. There's not disturbing nobody. And then I said, I've just heard some voices, some like robotic voices as I've walked through. He says, I heard them. I says, when? He says, I said, when? He says, I was sat on my decking having a drink. And he didn't, I don't think he drank alcohol. I'd have a coffee or a tea. And I said, where? He went there, and he pointed to his decking off the ground, say 8 or 9 inch. He's got a few chairs on it, and at the side of the field, not where I'd just been, where the borage was, there's barley or corn. I'm not going to say which it was. I can't remember. And I said, where? He said, there. I said, what? He said, about 20 foot in. There's no tracks in corn. There's nothing. The area just exhibits everything, all manner of the unexplained. It's crazy. Multi-phenomena.
Cool.
That's what it is. And there's so many similarities. Yeah. So one more then, unless you've got anything to ask me.
Well, I was going to say, we only have about 13 minutes left, and I wanted to talk about your movie, Wolflands. And so I just wanted to maybe, I hate to stop this or change the subject, but maybe you could talk about that for the few minutes we have.
Right. And we do have the clip of your, I don't know if it's bloopers or footage that didn't make it, and we can play that when you cue it. But can you tell us a little bit about the project first before we run that?
Yeah, first-hand accounts, and I've spent time in the forests with the witnesses, nights in the forest. I mean, some of these witnesses have broke down in tears when they've come out in the morning, where they've seen something that they could only describe. Pardon, I'm sorry for saying it like this, because I don't think these things exist. Not on the earth plane. They're coming from somewhere else. But they can only describe them as a werewolf or a dog man, if that's the terminology people want to use. I'm happy with that. But yeah, so it took us 3 years to make. I think we thought we were going to do it in 12 months, but we've done it it took us 3 years to make. It went on Amazon Prime, amazed us. For 10 weeks, it was in the top 100 with the documentaries, with everybody's documentaries. I'm talking about like Blue Planet and all the other things. I couldn't believe it. Got to number 10 at one time, so we're proud of it. But it's just the first-hand witnesses, and it also showed the multi-phenomena aspect as well. We blended into it the light form phenomena that people seen, and I'm cautious wary of the time, or aware of the time. But so I'll give you one. A gamekeeper, 2002 in North Yorkshire, at a place called Cropton and Stape, these forests, walking along the logging road with his cousin who'd come to stay with him for a week, and he's living in an abandoned farmhouse, the gamekeeper. Bonafide gamekeeper working there. He says, as we're walking, he says, a sphere of light just shot up from the side of us, size of a baseball. Ex-Marine, this guy, he said, and we're close to RAF Filingdale. So he said, I thought there were squaddies in the forest. I grabbed my cousin and I dropped him to the floor because I expected him to come out. I thought we'd touched a tripwire flare. And he said, but nothing happened. I looked for scorch marks. That night, I looked the next day, nothing. Now, Wolflands, although we've touched on the Bigfoot, werewolf phenomena, we touch on the Bigfoot as well. So that's where I'm going. So I must pull myself up here. He said, after that had happened, my cousin went home. Not because of that, it just went home. He says, me and the other gamekeeper then heard a baby crying in the forest. Like a human infant. He said, and whenever we went to where we thought it was, it had set off deeper in the forest. And these are quite big forests. He said, and I didn't get to the bottom of what it was. Then one night I'm in the farmhouse. The door's barricaded up at the back. I've got a bolt on the front door. No curtains. It's in middle of forest. He'd worked there for years and never knew it were there. He just went off the logging road and found this house in a clearing one day. Seriously, in the middle of the forest. It had not been occupied since 1956.
Wow.
So he's laid, feet to the fire. He says, and I woke up. I don't know why I woke up. He said, but I did. And I'm looking at the window, he says, and this huge figure came to the window and it's looking in. He said, it's taller than the window, so I don't see ears, I don't see glowing eyes, I just see this monstrous head and this even bigger shoulders. This guy's, if you watch Wolflands, this guy's formidable. And
wow.
He said the next night or a few nights later, he said, because I was I was troubled but unnerved. He said I felt like I'd been watched everywhere I went. He says in front of the house, about 30 to 40 feet away, were pine trees and pine trees at the sides. He says, and I got down in the pine boughs with a tarp on the floor and warm clothing, and I waited. He says, and sure enough, in the early hours of the morning, it came out of the forest and went a lot. He said, so you got the farmhouse and then it drops down to lower buildings. He said its head was higher than the gutter, and it arrived and looked in the window. He said, but it didn't walk. He said it arrived, it glided. He says, I never saw leg movement.
Reminds me
I
of
mean, all of the... Sorry.
I said it reminds me of Pascagoula a little bit, how they just
yeah. So it just arrived. He said, so here am I. He said, and I'd packed a sleeping bag in the house, look like me, basically. He said, so here am I watching me in the house. He said, but I believe another one was watching me.
Wow.
He said it stood there for 10 minutes. This is just one of the accounts from Wolflands. I think there's about 6 or 8. He stood there for 10 minutes and then just went back to where it came. He said the most uneasy part for me was going back to the farmhouse in case it had entered the farmhouse somehow from round the back. A few days later, he left and he never came back. You know, and that's one of the accounts.
That's the gentleman that was on the show with me when I was your guest. I think correct. He came in and he is correct. Yeah, and that's a very, very
just it's one of my favorite. And I do apologize because I know you want to be talking about Wolflands. But can you guys see those wounds on my back?
Oh, yes.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I know it's a black and white picture, people, but funds don't. And these are the actual doctor's notes that I've put in. I haven't written these.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what? You can see the doctor. I don't know if you can see. He's done a drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wounds. Do you see?
Yeah, I do see that.
Yeah, those are pretty big wounds that had to be very painful.
Yeah, they honestly were.
So, is it okay with you if we run this Truth Proof or the Wolflands deleted scenes video, so people can get a feel for the film?
It's all good.
I would. I think it's just a couple minutes. If we can run that really quickly.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Today, we've come to the other side of the River Derwent, the opposite side to where the guys got trapped in the forest a few years ago. For a reason, we want to look at a place called Moor Rig. Pretty insignificant name, you might think, you know, initially, when you're looking on a map. But I've done quite a bit of research into the names on these maps. And Moor Rig, spelt M-A-W, is quite significant. It really is. When you actually look at it in Viking terminology, the moor represented more than just a mere word, a simple word. The moor, we're literally in the realm of Jaws. Moor Rig and the moor represent the hound of hell.
Man, no, I just think that showcases the depths in which you research. I mean, not only do you go out to the field, you interview witnesses, you research name, you're trying to link things from around the world, and you have such a connection to this high strangeness phenomenon that really, like you said, it ties all of these things in. I mean, these anomalous sounds that you're hearing, the disembodied voices, and how much time do we have left, Tara?
We have about 7 minutes, 6 minutes.
Gosh darn it.
5.5 minutes.
You kind of made a point that you believe perhaps these things are already here. They're not coming from somewhere else. Where do you think they are, number one? And let's talk about portal activity for a minute. What do you think about that?
Portal, it's a word, interdimensional, another word. We're just playing with words, myself included, we're playing with words. They're from some other sphere of existence. Let's look at it like it's a record and there's all these lines on the record and it's almost like they can just step over into our realm, into our sphere of existence. I've spoken to American Indians who say much the same thing, that, you know, these things have got the ability to live between worlds. And I think that the things that were described in Wolflands, were flesh and blood, but there's an element to them that's sort of metaphysical. And where do I think some of the alien type stuff come? Well, I'm going to use a word here. Once again, please remember where you've heard it first, because it's going to be the title of my new book. and they're coming because I know you're going to use it. I know people are going to use this, but I want people to realize Paul Sinclair said it first. They're coming from the sub-universe, the submerged universe below the oceans. That's where they're residing, in the sub-universe. When you consider that, I'm not necessarily talking about the cryptid here, but when you consider that there's 90 to 95% of the world's oceans uncharted, we've got a vast amount of uncharted land, if you want it, for want of a better word. We know it's liquid that we're on the surface, but there's a lot of area there that people know nothing about. So it's possible. But basically, we're on the edge of the North Sea here, and I'm documenting these things that I've coined the ILFs, the intelligent light forms. These lights are appearing and presenting over the sea. They're coming from the sub-universe, in my opinion. And I think a lot of this intelligence that we're dealing with could be coming from the sub-universe.
When you say sub-universe, you're talking about maybe the Earth or the itself. Are you thinking dimensions or maybe both?
I'm saying that these things could reside beneath the oceans of the world. And this is the submerged universe, the sub-universe.
It's huge, yeah. So
I'm not saying that things aren't coming from, Tara, I'm not saying that things aren't coming through dimensions. I can't think where these cryptids could possibly hide in a postage stamp sized country like the UK. They're clearly being seen, and we've got too many witnesses claiming to see these things and have these terrifying experiences for them not to be real. We've just got to establish what is the real. And I don't think it's the bona fide flesh and blood type real that we associate with a horse or a bovine or a bear.
Right. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. It makes it hard to get our heads around, because I'm dealing with the same thing here at these high strength branches. Like, we know we have aquifers underground, but there's dirt and rock and minerals. Where are they hiding? Are there tunnel? I mean, how does this work? And I think that's what we're all trying to get our heads around and try to figure out. I want to mention, you've been an amazing guest, and I hope that you'll come back and visit us, because there's just so much to cover with you. But I want to shout out your website again. Make sure you guys check out his website, truthproof.uk. There's so many great links there. Please check out his YouTube channel, Truth Proof, on YouTube. And for sure, I highly recommend you check out Wolflands on Amazon Prime. So check that out. You won't be disappointed. I bought it, so I have it. I can watch it over and over and over again. I can't thank you enough for being here. Shane, we miss you. We hope you're back with us next Tuesday. We have Bob Spearing, and he's been looking into something quite interesting. So I can't wait to dive deep with Bob Spearing next week on that. Tara, thank you so much. And Chanel, we miss you. Yes. We hope you're back with us next week. And thank you to all our listeners. Thank you to KGRA. Are we good time-wise? Or
we're good. We have about 1 minute left, actually.
Well, let's bring up his book real quick so people can get a whole series here. He has Truth Proof 1.
I'm getting there. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then, of course, Your Night People. I definitely am going to get myself a copy of that. And again, check out Wolfland. So, Paul, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And we will have you back sometime soon. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Paul.
You very much.
All right.
Pleasure,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.